After going for a jog in September 2009, I got home and realized I was absolutely frozen. Because I felt chilly, I wanted to light a fire in the fireplace. It was then that I realized my wide-legged athletic pants were on fire. Instead of extinguishing the fire, my attempts to do so with my hands backfired. My pants and jacket quickly caught fire as the supplied air caused them to climb faster and stronger. Since I was completely unafraid of what might happen, this event continues to captivate me every time I think about it now. It occurred without my intervention, and I was just a bystander. I kept my voice down and didn't shout for assistance since I thought it was all a dream. The exact second I knew I was powerless over the flames is etched in my memory. At the same time, it had been eating its way up the synthetic garment, and now its flames were pelting my face with all their might. Suddenly, the life-altering aha effect kicked in, and I thought, that's it now, as the flames in my long hair forced me to exhale. Stop trying. And with that, you're dead. There was no longer any way to breathe, and there was no way to summon assistance. Loss of agency, with no longer any due on my part. What struck me as most remarkable about that time was the complete absence of pain and terror. In that same second, I went from thinking, now you're dying, to, it's ok. Looking back on it now, this is the most precious gift I have ever received. Finally, I crumbled, come to a halt. I let it happen since there was nothing else I could have done, and it was a life-altering decision. Give in. Even after all this time has passed, I still can't seem to put into words the depth of my emotions and the wisdom I've gained from this experience. It's also totally beyond the scope of human language to provide even a cursory description or explanation. That's a split second when absolutely everything, and absolutely nothing, happens. Total stillness within oneself, as one awaits the unfolding of events. And simultaneously, it is the most exquisite embodiment of the ABSOLET. Having said that, I did not experience a linear progression through my life. Instead, I had a profound epiphany about how right and good my past life had been. Nothing to be finished or obligated. A life free of sadness and anxiety. My 2 cents. It felt like I was absent from the concept of time, since I had so many profound insights in such a short amount of time. Not even enough time to take 3 or 4 breaths that a typical person would require. Concurrently, it seemed like an endless, perplexing eternity. I could go on and on about the feelings I was experiencing during that moment, but it was just a moment when I had to consciously and completely surrender myself to my higher power. At that point, I had no other option. Release myself from all human interference. I found myself suddenly perceiving this body, in which I had just immersed myself, through the lens of an observer's perspective. As I stood back and watched her stutter and futilely flail her arms, I felt a tranquility wash over me. Her current condition was untenable. In that instant, everything was crystal plain to me. When my kid unexpectedly showed up at the door, my dispassionate examination of my bodily experiences transformed into pure delight. He reacted with lightning speed, understanding the gravity of the situation, and hurried over to my lifeless body, ripping it to the ground, then using a carpet he had snatched to put out the fire. He was 14 years old. I pretended to be just an empathetic observer, following his attempts to assist me with an air of neutrality, as if I were somewhat removed from the situation. As the paramedics and rescue chopper landed, I witnessed him frantically dialing 911. It was as if my mind had detached from my body. Now I stood beside it, observing as if I were an observer or, better put, a bystander. But nothing could divert my focus from him. Not the presence of deceased loved ones to greet me with affection, not the presence of a dazzling light to see, not the absence of a dark tunnel or any other changes whatsoever. I got to see the friendly emergency physician tend to my body as it lay comfortably on a mobile couch instead. It wasn't until paramedics brought my corpse from the chopper to the hospital that the chaos began. Then, doctors hurried over, and they systematically escorted it to the emergency room. She looked perfectly fine, even with all those tubes and bottles strapped to her stomach, sleeping soundly and relaxedly, as if nothing had happened. It was all a mystery to me what all the hubbub was about him. As they attended to my body and transported it to the operating room, I overheard the paramedics chatting with the physicians and found it perplexing that nobody paid any attention to me. On this human level, nobody could see me. It seemed like no one was paying attention to me or my questions. Not my son, not the emergency room doctor on the helicopter, and certainly not the busy professionals at the hospital. To be honest, this was the one and only thing that bothered me throughout. Am I dead? For the first time since being admitted to the hospital, I was able to stare at my body in peace as it lay there. While we were there, they had transferred her to a peaceful double room in the ICU, and now the only sound was the beeping of various devices. Numerous devices monitored her operations, and an overwhelming number of hoses supplied her with all the necessities, so it appeared like she was in good hands. Still, the vision of her lying there on a ventilator, her chest moving up and down, was quite bizarre. She had bandages covering her whole head and hands, leaving only a little gaping mouth through which apparatus tubing protruded. She appeared to wait serenely in her own way as she lay there, lifeless and unsatisfied. Although he was sleeping, I sat at the foot of his bed and let my mind wander to innumerable places. For the love of God, what does it mean? It was I am on the verge of experiencing actual life. Why am I unable to experience his emotions? In the end, the most crucial question is, why am I alive if I am indeed dead? I should probably end our relationship. Why do I have to wait? Just as I was coming to terms with this bizarre, raptured condition, a gentle, comforting voice came from behind me. The atmosphere in the dimly lit room shifted the moment someone entered who appeared to be staring directly at me. "You're not dead, Enk," a low voice was heard by me. Turning around, I saw the warm, caring gaze of a big, burly man whose presence seemed to permeate the whole room. "There is no need to worry. All of your queries will be answered. I have some items to show you, but nothing here is important for the moment. My life's most exciting adventure had just begun. Going beyond my physical form, this luminous being showed me the components and is of consciousness. I inquired 1,000 queries and received 10,000 replies during my training and instruction. My gentle teacher guided me into all the critical areas, and I became aware of connections I had never considered before. I learned about the connection between our physical bodies and higher vibrational levels, the meaning of integrating soul parts, the process of releasing blocks, and the connection between soulmates. Everything I've ever wanted to know about expanding one's consciousness, including its relationship to our human I learned from him. I finally got the chance to see and feel all my wildest dreams come true. Everything occurs simultaneously in these realms since time does not exist there. In tandem, and with an incredible ferocity. Many times we visited the room where my body lay in a coma, and my instructor also taught me the importance of accepting the physical body for what it truly is, a vessel that allows us to have our experiences and do dualities here as humans, something that yearns to be inhabited by our heightened awareness, and that seeks communion. My spiritual teacher instructed me to become in tune with my physical body during one of these sickroom trips by inviting me to feel it and make direct touch with it. Its NESS and AEAVINESS were palpable to me. In spite of its flaws, I was able to observe its inventiveness, regenerative power, boundless potential, and unique mode of interaction with me. For the first time, I was free to investigate it and listen to what its stories had to say. My instructor repeatedly escorted me between the various levels. I felt what we call unconditional love, yet it goes beyond what words can express. A love that does not discriminate, a love that is present in every single one of us, and most importantly, a love for everything that is. Every single grain of sand, every single cell, and every single idea contains it. The fact that time and space were completely irrelevant enhanced the incredible quality of this event, as did the fact that absolutely everything happened simultaneously. The past and the future, as we know them, do not exist, or more accurately, exist solely in relation to us. The future does not exist in and of itself, so we are constantly and instantly free to choose the future we desire. Changing our outlook and refocusing our energy will cause a dramatic improvement in every aspect of our situation. You can now make a decision. Inc. As he returned me to the level where my body was in a coma, he asked me the most important question I've ever heard. It's up to you. Is it more important to you to return to your body, or to say goodbye to it right now? Looking back, I find it more about the wonderful realizations. The decision, the EFFECT, the truth, than about dying and abandoning these levels. Prior to now, it was all about saying yes to myself. A conscious yes to my body, my being human, and to myself was granted. A tremendous sensation of limitlessness and density washed over me as I was given permission to integrate back into him, link, and flow into his cells. Even though he wasn't perfect right now, I still loved him for who he was. Everything about him made me feel grateful, and I accepted him. I am filled with gratitude for his continued availability, for the opportunity to remain here, for the invaluable training I have received, and most of all, for my unwavering faith in myself, my bravery, and my strength. Ever since then, things have changed dramatically. Everything is continuing in the same delightful way around me. However, I am unique. 8 years after this event, I still feel as if I am standing on the sidelines, watching things unfold, and I have been blessed with the ability to see the soul in every moment, looking at everything down here and simply smiling. I am completely present in my body while also being in the unconditional state of my soul. My priorities have changed. Stop wasting time searching and start finding. An unwavering yes to me and my world, as I can enjoy it so exquisitely, with no more pressure, no more muiustis or sessioyothis. Worries have vanished. My fear of death and all other dreads has vanished. Pain and suffering no longer terrify me. And that concludes our look at today's experience. Whose opinion was it anyway? Specify in the space provided below. Be blessed and remain safe until we meet again.